Okay, back to talking about Doctor Who. Now, okay, so during the time between so I knew I liked Doctor Who because I saw the show back in the 80s when I was very young, and then I didn't have access to the show for a long time, for many years. But I remember going, uh, I believe this was around the time that I was in junior high. So, the early 90s. I went to my local public library where I lived, and I discovered novelizations of episodes of stories from Doctor Who. So that was neat. I was excited to be able to read these. I was still not too much of a reader in those days, but I liked that I was at least able to experience Doctor Who in that way. Since I couldn't watch the episodes, I was at least able to read the episodes. So these novelizations of the stories from Doctor Who, the ones that I read, or I guess, I don't know how many, probably maybe two or three that I got from the library. That might have been all that were there. So they were by Terrance Dicks. So he was one of the writers for Doctor Who uh, during I believe John Pertwee, Tom Baker, and Peter Davison. At least the five Doctors for Peter Davison. So he was one of the writers for Doctor Who, and he had novelized some of the stories from the show. Now, I enjoyed being able to read these stories, but I have mixed feelings about Terrance Dicks because so in these the ones that he at least the ones that I read, he had written a foreword in these ones that Terrance Dicks uh, the novelizations. There's a foreword in the ones that I had, and I don't know why he did this. He said something. Okay, so I guess he was angry or jealous or bitter about the success of Star Wars. So in this forward, he's making kind of like an accusation of, or at least criticizing Star Wars for not being very original. Um, by implying that they got the idea for one of the droids, R2D2. Yeah, I think C3PO was the gold guy. R2D2 was the other one that was kind of cylindrical shaped so he was saying that they ripped off the idea for uh, R2D2. They got the idea, and he was bitter about that for the Dalek. He was saying that Star Wars got the idea for R2D2 from the design of the Dalek. So you can I'll kind of show here. So kind of similar, but very different in a way. Like maybe sort of similar geometrical shape in a way, but R2D2 had legs, kind of. He rolled around. He had feet that I guess you can call them like feet. So not exactly the same, but kind of similar. So kind of a good point. I until that was I wasn't aware. I didn't make the connection. So that was kind of a good point that they may have been inspired. That's one way of putting it. They were inspired rather than saying, "Oh, they ripped it off." They ripped off the design. So there's a lot of times where there are directors and writers are inspired uh, by something previously that they were exposed to, so they would say it's like an homage, or they were just inspired by it. So that's okay. That's not like something to get all angry about, because it's not like exactly the same. They're not exactly the same. R2D2 and the Daleks, but so Terrance Dicks was he was saying that they ripped it off. They ripped off the idea. And so basically, this attack on Star Wars. I've seen I actually saw a documentary on Star Wars where they were saying how they were like they got the idea for a lot of Star Wars from things that were made previously. So they admitted to it that they were inspired by all these different things. So that's okay. They can be inspired by other things. They like like uh, like the Jedi thing. That was like I think they said that was inspired by samurai codes. And, like the whole thing with the scrolling text at the beginning of Star Wars was like inspired by what was it? Flash Gordon. So Star Wars was inspired by a lot of like other things. So I'm not surprised that they were also inspired by Doctor Who in a way. But maybe they weren't. Maybe they got it. Maybe they got the idea from something else, or maybe they didn't know anything about Doctor Who. I don't know. But so Terrance Dicks was very bitter and insulting to in this foreword in his novelizations of Doctor Who episodes, stories for Doctor Who. In this foreword, he was very insulting to not only the creator of Star Wars, the creators of Star Wars, the people that made the movies, but very insulting to the fans of Star Wars. So he used this word. I think it was when he mentioned how the fans who wear their Luke Skywalker T-shirts. He used this word that I hate. That I feel is one of the most insulting things you can say. The most offensive words. The R word. I'm not even going to say what it is. I've talked about it previously when I was talking about my Young Guns, when I was doing the Young Guns videos with Charlie Sheen. So Terrance Dicks used the R word when referring to the Star Wars fans. So that I never forgot that. So that made me angry and not really like Terrance Dicks. Although I appreciate what he contributed to the show of Doctor Who, I was angry and still am that he used the R word in his foreword for the novelizations of Doctor Who. I was thinking, like, why didn't someone, when he provided his foreword for the novelizations of Doctor Who, why didn't, like, the editor uh, or whoever was in his boss, why didn't they say, Terrance, I was looking at your forward here and you used a highly offensive word. I don't think you should be using this word in the forward here. That's a very offensive word, Terrance. So I don't know if that conversation was ever had. Maybe it was, and Terrance was like, I don't care. And they were like, well, okay, Terrance, I guess we'll print it. So they might have, maybe someone might have said something. Maybe they were like, Terrance, you shouldn't say this in your forward. But they didn't care enough to, they didn't, apparently, if they did care about it, or if they were bothered by him using the R word in the forward, they didn't care enough. Um, they didn't care enough because they allowed it to be printed. So there's no reason to use this word, Terrance. I don't know. Maybe possibly over the years, maybe well he probably just forgot about it, or maybe he regretted using it. So maybe afterwards, I don't know. Maybe there was an apology at some point. Probably not. Not that I'm aware of. Uh, so it's possible he regretted using the word. But so if he used it in a forward, he probably used it in his normal everyday life in conversations. But that was the only time I had ever seen Terrance Dicks use the word, was in this forward. I've seen interviews with Terrance Dicks, and I never hear him throw out the R word. And thankfully, he's never used it in the episodes that he contributed to the show of Doctor Who. Gladly, that I've never heard the R word used in Doctor Who. But it just doesn't make sense to me. Like what like there's no reason to use this highly offensive word. You're just using it to come. When you use this word, you're coming across as an asshole, and you're just using it to hurt someone. So there's really no reason that anyone should ever use this word, this R word. And it makes no sense in my opinion, from a publicity standpoint. Like, um, I guess that's the word I would, publicity. Yeah, I guess that's the way of putting it. Like, what are you doing? What? Okay, so you're insulting Star Wars fans, but what what about the people who also like? So what about the people that like Star Wars and Doctor Who? So you're excluding these other people by insulting them, uh, by using the R word against them, the Star Wars fans. You're insulting these people. So they're being turned off. They possibly were turned off because of being insulted. Understandably so. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people that liked both Star Wars and Doctor Who. Unless he was just thinking, oh, I'm just directing this at people that only like Star Wars and they don't like Doctor Who. Well, a lot of people who like science fiction, they might like Star Wars and Doctor Who. Why do you have to like one or the other? Why can't you like both? So for me, I liked both. I like both Star Wars and Doctor Who. Why do I have to like one more than the other? I think they're both good. So when you're attacking a fan base of Star Wars, it's like you're saying, he was saying, insulting them. Uh, it's like saying that they weren't wanted as Doctor Who fans. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why? Okay, it's one thing to like. It was okay to criticize Star Wars. Fine, you can make these comparisons. How they may have been inspired or not. Or he didn't say inspired. At least I don't recall him saying using that word. You can criticize Star Wars. Fine, Terrance. Uh, but there's no reason to insult people that like Star Wars because they might also like Doctor Who. Is my point. So I feel like he was like alienating Star Wars fans. Why not like, okay, fine, make this criticism of Star Wars, but also explain the positives of Doctor Who without insulting people, without alienating a fan base. That's how I feel about it. It just doesn't make sense. Like, why insult? Why not encourage the Star Wars fans to watch Doctor Who rather than just insult them? It seems like a very bad strategy. So that was definitely a bad move in my opinion to use that word. Because I'm not alone. Other people find that word highly offensive. And this video is already long, but I wanted to mention more about the R word here. So there's these other shows that I liked. Dexter and Lex. I really like these shows. They're very different. But they use the R word in these shows a few times. So I'm enjoying the show, and then all of a sudden one of the characters throws out the R word. So it just puts me in a really bad mood when I hear this word. So I really enjoy these shows, but it's like they're tainted because they use the R word in the show. So it makes me very angry at the writers of these shows, because there's no reason to use these words. Like, what's the point of using this highly offensive word in your show? I can't say that I love these shows. I really like them. I wish I could like edit out the R word from these shows, like censoring. Well, these are highly offensive words. Why are you using them? No reason to use this highly offensive word. This is a highly offensive word, this R word. No reason to use it in your show. So, very disappointed in the writers of those shows for using the R word. Here's a show, Eureka. That show I like. They didn't use the R word in the show. So it's possible you don't need to use the R word in your show, writers of shows. Alright, this video is long enough.